General, ladies, gentlemen and distinguished guests, a very warm welcome to the Royal Military Academy Sandhurst and to the Centre for Army Leadership's 2019 conference. It's great to see so many of you here today. By way of introduction, my name is Langley and I'm the head of the Centre for Army Leadership here based at Sandhurst. As some of you know, the CAL was established in the wake of CGS's 2015 leadership review, which demanded, and I quote, a programme of organisational cultural change to energise the Army's approach to leadership and leader development. And as you look around the room today, I think it's a stark illustration of just how far we've come in those 3 short years. Our first conference drew an audience of 70, and here we are today, almost at full capacity, just shy of 1,200 personnel from across the military, the civil service, government, academia, business and the sporting world. So the journey has begun in earnest. In that 3-year period, much has been achieved. We now have an Army leadership doctrine and a leadership code, both underpinned by academic rigour. We have a nascent research institute driving the conceptual foundation of our work. We've got a very healthy volunteer activist network, approximately 200 personnel from across the military or across the Army, from private to lance to lieutenant colonel, across all cap badges, driving leadership thinking, practice and development into the heart of the Army. We have an increasingly influential cross-sector, multinational engagement network, many of whom are represented here today, and it's great to see so many of you with us, cohering the latest thinking and best practice. We have energised leadership thinking throughout the organisation with our speaker series, insights, digests, book reviews, and our research. And critically, we've been intimately involved in the refinement of leadership and leader development across both the officer and the soldier training pipelines. And the change from the CLM training progression to the Army Leadership Development Programme is a notable demonstration of the Army's intent to put leadership at the heart of the NCO development pathway. So we've come a long way in a short period of time, but this is not the time to rest on our laurels and to pat ourselves on the back. We've a great deal more to do collectively to professionalise our values-based leadership. From a CAL perspective, we need to expand our research base to strengthen the intellectual foundations of our work and to enhance our credibility. And this will include 3 bespoke pieces of research due to begin shortly, and that's off the back of the 2018 Leadership CAL survey. Our doctrine is very good, but we need to review consistently and to refine it, and most importantly, to make it accessible. And the review will begin in the new year. We must continue to diversify our thinking, not just internally, but critically externally as well. As the Forward Institute rightly urged, we must work actively to avoid groupthink and take responsibility for our operational blind spots. But most importantly, we need to improve our reach. We need to engage and enthuse our private soldiers, our junior and senior NCOs, and our young officers, our current and our future leaders. And that next stage starts here and starts today. A few words of thanks, if I may, before I go on. Firstly, to our partners, without whom today's events would not have been possible. To British Telecom, to the Inspirational Development Group, Scarbeck Associates, Capita, the League Managers Association, and the Sandhurst Trust. A sincere thanks to you all. Working tirelessly in the background to make today's event possible, our small army of volunteers from 7RHA, the QRH, and across our vibrant activist network. Again, many thanks. From the CAL team, absolutely at the leading edge of today's activities, Major Paul McFarlane, SO2 leadership here. He's been leading the charge, supported by, from the core team, Professor Lloyd Clark and W1 Stephen, who you've just heard from. From the reserves, Major Russ Lewis and W1 Mick Latter. Our secondees, Colour Sergeant Page from the Infantry Battle School, and Second Lieutenants Creer and Flower, and of course John and Stuart bringing us into the digital age. So to you all, a sincere thanks. And of course my final thanks goes to our speakers. And we've got quite a lineup for you today. Globally recognised in their respective fields, they offer to inform us, to challenge us, and to spark the debate about tomorrow's leadership challenges. The sequence of events for today are in your programme. I'm not going to insult your intelligence by going through the detail of that. Suffice to say that at lunchtime, we've got 3 pop-ups for you. At 12:45 in here will be Nick Walters from Bellingcat. For those of you who know the work of Bellingcat, that promised to be a fascinating insight. Followed immediately thereafter by the Army Sergeant Major W.R. Patton at 13:25. And straddling both of those in the Akehurst Hall, Major Athel Frost and the Wavell Room. So you'll have to deconflict your attendance and, of course, your lunch with those events accordingly. In terms of questions then, 2 methods. Traditional method of putting your hand up, and we'll bring the microphone to you. Please wait until you've got the microphone, hold it at the top of the microphone so everyone can clearly hear your question. Alternatively, as already been briefed, we're going to be using Slido today, so log on as per the instructions behind me and pose your questions, and they'll be fielded by myself, Lloyd, and Paul throughout the Q&A sessions. During the breaks, please mingle, please interact, and please do network. And there's very minimum reserved seating. There's no designated area for special guests, and that's quite deliberate because we're all leaders here, and we're all here to learn and to develop and interact. So please maximise the opportunity. I will close with a final extract from the 2015 Leadership Review, which noted, "The British Army is one of the most respected institutions in the UK. To ensure that this reputation is earned and maintained, the Army must continue to produce world-class leaders who live the Army's values and standards, build winning teams, and are the nation's edge against any adversary in any situation." And that's you. Because leadership is everyone's business. It's not a rank thing. It does not need authority. Anyone can lead. From day one private soldier through to CGS, we all have a role to play. Thank you very much indeed. Enjoy the conference today. And I will now hand over to Professor Lloyd Clark, Director of Research here at the Centre for Army Leadership.
Thank you, Langley, and a very good morning to you all. The CAL is not yet 3 years old, and to see a packed Churchill Hall, as has already been said, is something that we should be immensely proud of, along with the fact that the British Army engages not only with all ranks, but also with the civilian sector, experts in their field, and today we all come together and learn from each other. Since its launch at the DE Leadership Annual Address in May, the CAL's 2019-20 theme of Leading in the Digital Age has proved not only incredibly popular with the Army and also wider defence, but also with the civilian sector. And it's one that certainly I've been interested in for many years. And I well remember reading Malcolm Bradbury's very last novel about 20 years ago, in which he made a very interesting observation that's coloured my perhaps perspective of this particular subject. He wrote, "We don't have reason, we have computation. We don't have a tree of knowledge, we have the internet. We don't have real intelligence, we have artificial intelligence. We no longer pursue truth, we seek data and signals. We no longer have morals, we have lifestyles. And are we better for it?" Now, whether you agree with Malcolm Bradbury's very jaundiced view or not, I think there's no doubt that as leaders, we can't ignore the fact that there have been some fundamental changes in our lifestyles and the way that we do business due to digitisation. And we need to understand what those changes are and its nuanced implications. So while leading in the digital age is, of course, about tech, we've also got to remember that it's also about the relationship between tech and people, tech and leaders. And some of you would have been to the CAL Speaker Series events over the last few months, those that have been theme-based. And we've already started to discuss those very issues. And I would very much encourage you, certainly those that are in the military, to go to the Army Knowledge Exchange and have a look at some of those talks. Just to give you a couple of examples. Dr. Paddy Walker was talking about autonomous weapon systems and their leadership challenges. Professor Colin Williamson talked about the future cyborg. And most recently on this stage, Dr. Vivian Ming, just a couple of weeks ago, talked about AI and the future of realising human potential. All three experts spoke at length about that huge impact that digitisation has had and continues to have on our lives, both at the strategic level, the operational level, and at the tactical level, if you will. They also argued that digitisation has demanded that we ask some very basic questions about leading and leadership. How does technology help with creativity, communication, decision-making, agility, collaborative team working, experimentation? And how can it help us measure performance better? How can we lead increasingly fragmented and dispersed teams? How do we lead virtually? What challenges does a leader face in a world that not only produces more information and data than ever before, but also it makes it more easily accessible to all of us? What ethical issues are raised by leading in the digital age, and how might we tackle them? And also, should we look so readily to tech, to answers to our questions, and are we not perhaps too busy to wonder, to think, and to reflect? Now, I've got little doubt that our speakers here today will shed some much-needed light on some of those questions, and doubtless many others. And we've got some pop-up sessions, we've got a panel session, as well as our individual speakers, where I hope that you will engage and you'll ask your questions. Discussion is absolutely central to today. Your thoughts, your engagement will make this conference an enriching experience. So thank you all for taking the time and trouble to come to Sandhurst today, and may I respectfully encourage you all to think deeply, share your ideas, and then vitally act on what you learn. Thank you very much.